Rockstar spent $500 million to make you watch a man skin a deer for 10 seconds. This wasn't a mistake. It was an attack on every game you've ever played. They intentionally made Red Dead Redemption 2 feel clunky, tedious, and boring to the modern gamer, and in doing so, they created the most important artistic statement of the generation. This is the story of how the most hated features of a game became its greatest strength.
$500 million for a 10-second deer skinning? This wasn't an accident. It was a declaration of war against a decade of game design built on dopamine hits and instant gratification. When Red Dead Redemption 2 dropped, the forums erupted. Clunky, a chore, a cowboy simulator. And the critics weren't wrong. If you've been mainlining games that treat your time like a resource to be optimized, then being forced to watch Arthur Morgan slowly open every single drawer in a dusty cabin feels like a personal insult. It feels like bad design. But it's not. This is the unspoken contract you sign when you start this game. You agree to surrender your modern gaming instincts. You agree to be bored. Because that initial friction, that profound frustration with a game that refuses to hurry the hell up, is precisely where its genius is forged. Rockstar didn't just make a slow game. They weaponized slowness to create one of the most punishingly immersive and emotionally devastating experiences in the history of the medium.
Let's talk about the animations. All 300,000 of them. Every single action in Red Dead 2 is governed by a brutal, unskippable law. It must take time. You don't just loot an enemy. You watch Arthur kneel, pat down a corpse, and pull out a half-eaten biscuit. You don't just craft. You watch him pour coffee grounds, use a percolator, and sip from a tin cup. This isn't realism for realism's sake. This is narrative friction. It's a design choice that assigns a time cost to every action, forcing consequence upon the player. In any other game, you'd vacuum up loot mid-gunfight. In Red Dead 2, trying to loot during a shootout is a death sentence. That 10-second skinning animation isn't just a visual flourish, it's a window of vulnerability. It makes you consider if the reward is worth the risk. This philosophy of player embodiment makes Arthur feel heavy, deliberate. He doesn't turn on a dime, he has momentum. He stumbles. This infuriated players accustomed to pixel-perfect response times, but it's the entire point. By sacrificing snappy game feel, Rockstar gives you something far more valuable, a connection to a physical body in a physical world. You feel his exhaustion, you feel the effort, and you feel the weight of every life you take because the game forces you to be present for the grim aftermath, not just the trigger pull.
Most open worlds are just beautiful lobbies, playgrounds you fast travel across to get to the real content. Red Dead 2 commits the ultimate sin of modern game design. It makes fast travel a pain in the ass. This isn't an oversight. It's a cage designed to trap you in the game's true main character, the world itself. By removing the instant gratification of teleporting to a waypoint, Rockstar transforms the journey from dead air into the core gameplay loop. Those long, quiet horse rides aren't filler. They are the delivery system for over 500,000 lines of dialogue. They're where the gang's relationships are built and where they begin to fracture. But more importantly, they're where the world happens to you. You're not just crossing a map, you're vulnerable. You might get bucked from your horse by a snake, ambushed by the Murphy brood, or stumble upon a man dying from a wolf bite. You could find a ghost in the swamp or a UFO over a lonely shack. None of this happens from a menu screen. By forcing you to exist in the spaces between objectives, the game creates a world that feels genuinely alive and unpredictable. It doesn't need you. It was here before you, and it will be here long after you're gone. Turning off the minimap isn't just a feature, it's how the game is meant to be played. You're forced to look up, read signs, and learn the landscape. The world stops being a GPS route and becomes a place.
Strip away the gunfights, and Red Dead 2 is a game about a family falling apart.
And you can't feel the devastation of that collapse if you never truly felt like part of the family. The game's most powerful narrative tool is forcing you to simply waste time with these people. You're not just taking missions, you're going on a drunken bender with Lenny, fishing with Dutch and Hosea, and doing chores around camp. You're carrying sacks of grain for Pearson. You're chopping wood. This is chore play as character development. These mundane moments of contribution build a sense of belonging that makes the eventual betrayals feel personal. Dutch Vanderlin's descent into madness isn't told through a few dramatic cutscenes. It's a slow, cancerous rot you witness over 60 hours. You hear it in the shifting tone of his campfire speeches. You see it in the way he starts to dismiss Hosea's wisdom. Because the game gives you so much time with the charismatic, visionary Dutch of the early chapters, his final betrayal, leaving Arthur to dead on that mountain, hits not as a plot twist, but as a genuine, gut-wrenching heartbreak. You didn't just watch it happen. The game's pacing made you complicit. You had faith too.
It all starts with a cough, a tiny, insignificant sound. Then it gets worse, until one day Arthur collapses, hacking up blood. Tuberculosis, a death sentence. This is the moment the game's entire design philosophy pivots from building immersion to inflicting dread. Every slow, deliberate system you were forced to learn is now turned against you. The core system, which you meticulously maintained with food and tonics, now drains relentlessly. Sprinting for more than a few feet triggers a debilitating coughing fit. Arthur, the man whose physical presence felt so weighty and powerful, is now frail. You, the player, feel weaker, slower. The game weaponizes its own mechanics to make you experience a man's body failing him in real time. The slowness you were conditioned to accept now mirrors his fading strength. Every weary sigh, every stumble, hits with the weight of the 100 hours you've spent living in his boots. The final ride back to camp isn't just a mission, it's a farewell tour through a world you were forced to know intimately. The game earned this tragedy. It made you live a life just so you could feel the crushing weight of it ending.
So what is the legacy of this $500 million bet on patience? Red Dead 2 sold over 77 million copies. It proved that a massive audience was starved for depth and willing to be treated like adults. It set a new, almost impossibly high bar for narrative and world design that developers now openly cite as their benchmark. But we haven't seen a flood of imitators. Why? Because you can't copy the slowness without the budget. You can't have 300,000 animations and an 8-foot-high script without a team of over 1,600 people and a near decade of brutal development. Red Dead 2's legacy isn't a new genre, it's a monument, a singular, lightning-in-a-bottle achievement that stands in defiance of industry trends. It proved that a blockbuster game doesn't have to be a power fantasy. It can be a quiet, contemplative, and ultimately heartbreaking tragedy about the end of an era. And sometimes, the most revolutionary thing a game can do is have the courage to make you wait. We've broken down the Unspoken contract, dissected the tyranny of its animations, and seen how a world designed to be inconvenient becomes the main character. We saw how Rockstar weaponized its own systems to make you feel the slow, agonizing decay of both a man and a family. The verdict is in. Red Dead 2's slowness isn't a design flaw to be patched. It is the design. It's the core pillar that supports the entire tragic masterpiece. Now, in the comments, I don't want your favorite mission. I want the one moment of boring that has stuck with you. A quiet sunrise, a long ride where nothing happened, the simple act of brewing coffee. Tell me about the moment the slowness finally clicked. And if you believe games should be more than just dopamine slot machines, subscribe to this channel.
Now get out of here.